All right, let's do a little yeah, let's do a little audio test, see where we're at. All right, let's do a little yeah, I think we should be all right. Let's do a little audio test, see where we're at. So it's
All
my
right, let's
fault
do a
on that.
little
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me hear the
I think
live
we should
feed.
be all right.
All right, yeah. Let's
So
do a little.
everything's looking good. And that being said, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the Week 8 edition. Let me sit up in my chair and not look like a slouch. The Week 8 edition of the Waiver Wire Show. We are going to dig a little deeper, look a little harder, and find some gems. And what do you know? Just last week, a lot of people out there skipping waivers. Nah, it's whack. Oh, this, that. And we called out a couple guys out there that we thought would be guys, and now these are the guys that we're gonna go to the shame on you segment because they should have already been on your team. We even called them for the Friday show as well to pick them up if they were still on your waiver wire, and now they're still out there. So in this league, this is the only league where I didn't pick this guy up, but our number one guy, we'll dive right into it for the shame on you segment. Orande Gadsden, the thumbnail on pretty much every single waiver wire video this week. Um, you know, the only reason I didn't pick him up is I went with K. Dotton, which wasn't a bad option either. I mean, K. Dotton's going to be, at 10 to 15 point per game player for the next month, considering Mike Evans is going to be out for the rest of the fantasy season. Godwin might return soon, but I expect, K. Dotton to be a 7 to 8 targets per game type of player. But Rondé Gadsden has probably more upside than over half the tight ends. I mean, he easily slides into a top 10, probably like number 10 or number 11 overall in the entire tight end landscape, which is a dump. But um, every single week, the snaps increase 26, 48, 54, 75. I mean, the targets pretty much increase steadily. Last week we got a little bit, it was the Miami boost. A lot of people thought, oh, Quentin Johnson, it's because he's there. I wasn't. I'm not going to sit here and say I thought he was going to score 29 points, but I definitely thought that he was still at least making himself a viable player for the long haul. Um, wasn't quick to throw him in my lineup either. I actually did throw him in my lineup in my 14 team league, but he was definitely, he was a player that was rosterable for sure. And this is probably the third or fourth time we've talked about him on this show. So he shouldn't be a player that's new to you guys if you've been following along. So if you didn't get on Rondé Gadsden, you're late. But if he's somehow still on your waiver wire, this is the number one pickup for this week. I mean, looking around this week, it's not a bad waiver wire, but I think Rondé Gadsden is probably the best pick of the litter, if I'm being honest. I mean, the 7 catch for 164 statistically was the best game for a rookie at tight end that we've ever seen for a rookie tight end. I mean, Sam Laporta, his rookie year, didn't even have games like that. I don't even know how, Tyler Warren, as good as he is, he hasn't had a game like that. He's had good games. I'm not denying that. But what Gadsden's brought, man, is just a different dimension. And, this Chargers offense is totally different than I thought coming into the year. I mean, I thought they were going to be very similar to the offense they were last year, sort of a play action pass under center offense because that's all Greg Roman's been his entire career. And this year they've basically been an air raid. I mean, they're in the gun every single play. Herbert's throwing the ball 40 times a game. They're going pass first on neutral downs more than I would have ever imagined. I mean, I think they lead the league in passing down in passing on neutral down. So 1st and 10 passes essentially. Um, so it's it, if anything, it's factored into why Gadsden's role is expanded and how he's just basically become an extra receiver out of this receiver group, which is pretty good. With Johnston and McConkey, Allen, I think is he's at the end of his road, but you go back to the prospect profile at Syracuse. This guy had, not 900. He had pretty much 1,000 yard season as a tight end slash receiver. Fast player, 6'5", 235. So he's a borderline receiver build. He basically, and I'm not the only one to say this. He is a Darren Waller type build, and his dad played in the NFL. He has that sort of skill set to go out there and kill on a weekly basis. So, uh, really exactly what we're looking for at tight ends. I mean, I was after that Denver game, I definitely got hype on Aronde Gadsden because I remember I liked him as a rookie, but then he wasn't active, and then I kind of cooled off on him a little bit. But I didn't really like fade him in the sense to where I'm like, yeah, no, forget about him. I mean, I was like, keep an eye on this guy. After last week of Miami, even though he got the Miami boost, as we call it, he was still pretty much a must pick up. And now it's too late. Now you're gonna have to go bid. In this league, I'm considering dropping a house on getting a Rondé Gadsden, but um, it sucks he plays on a Thursday, but I still think you could pretty much slide him into the lineup for the rest of the year. He's got a lot of decent matchups coming up too. So uh, I don't know what else to say about them guys. I mean, we've already talked about him before, so he should be nobody new and not a stranger at all. Next guy we'll talk about for the shame on you segment is Jackson Dart. If you guys didn't pick up Jackson Dart, shame on you. I actually, another guy, I had him and I dropped him just because I needed I wanted to add a speculation player. A lot of just bad decisions for me this week all around, man. I'm shooting myself. Even the expert makes a lot of mistakes. But Jackson Dart, at this point, matchup proof might be a stretch, but I don't think anybody expected him to go in a mile high and score 28 points. That was impressive. And then the fact that he did it off pretty much, solely his arm. I mean, there's a lot of incompletions. I get it, but this is fantasy football. He's reckless. He runs around. That's what we're looking for. I mean, if he throws a pick, he throws a pick. It's -2. You could probably make it up on the next drive. He's getting, I don't know if you want to call it goal line work, but when he gets in the red zone, excuse me, he uses his legs. It's what happens when you do a late night show and then it's what makes this even worse. And I got to stop doing this. I'll begin doing my own waiver wires in my leagues before I record the show. And it stinks because I'm kind of tired by the time I do it. But at the same time, it really helps me kind of get them, just make sure I'm not missing out on any players and, how I would approach it after I just approached it myself. So, anyway, guys, Aronde Gasson, Jackson Dart, those are probably the only two guys that are shame on you guys. I mean, the other guys we've talked about, I mean, we've mentioned them before. They're not really anyone new. I mean, a lot of people out there, they have Bam Knight. Um, I'm not going to say shame on you if you don't pick him up. Bam Knight to me he's just kind of a, fringe flex. I mean, he got volume. He's going against the Cowboys when he comes out of the bye, so there's some appeal there. But I don't know. I just to me, it's not really it's nothing sexy. I mean, I'm not looking at Bam Knight thinking, oh man, there's some huge upside. Benson's going to come back in a couple weeks, so if you want him, go get him. If you desperately need a running back, but I'm not going to really recommend him if I'm being honest with you guys. So I've been off this Cardinals backfield as a whole. Um, let's see. Anybody? I don't think that's really all I have for shame on you guys. So I don't think any of you guys should be ashamed because you did all right. All right. So let's go dive into our order: quarterback, running back, receivers, and tight ends. We'll start off with the quarterback. Um, number one quarterback pickup outside of Jackson Dart. If I got to be honest with you, it's probably Mariota. Bye weeks are alive this week. There's a lot of buys out there, so you guys are going to be making some desperation starts. Mariota, just for the fact that he's going to run around, it is what it is. It's corny, but even at 31, going against Kansas City, not a great matchup, but I think it'll, Kansas City basically they had the week off on defense. Excuse me. Compared to the Deadskins, who at least will give him a little bit more of a challenge. You like to imagine. What the Raiders did last week was totally despicable. But Mariota, he'll run around, he'll use his legs a little bit, and that's fantasy points. So not a bad stream option out there. Another guy I like a lot for stream is Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he did a good job last week, and then he's got his former team coming home. Aaron Rodgers is the type of psycho, man. He's going to pull out something out of his bag to do some tricks against the Packers. I don't know how, I don't know what. But the Packers defense overall, they've been a pretty average defense. I mean, considering that, Michael Parsons was there, he came in and, I know he had 3 sacks last week, but, they allowed 23 to the Cardinals with Jacoby Brissett. So even though the Steelers offense I'm not a fan of, I mean, I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to move the football at the very least against the Green Bay Packers. I don't think the Green Bay Packers, you know, they're just an okay defense, considering what they should have been. I mean, I think it's very underwhelming. So not a bad streaming option as well. And then that's pretty much it. Spencer Rattler, I would recommend, but I can't trust him. Joe Flacco isn't a bad option either. Going against the Jets, I just wonder if they get ahead in the game, are they really going to throw the football like they did last Thursday? I don't think so. I think they're, if anything, this will be a more of a Chase Brown game. They're going to try to pound the ball. I just don't really. It's not really a point when you have Tyrod Taylor and all those no-name receivers. It's just kind of a whack offense. So there's no point in throwing the ball. Moving along, I think that's really all I got at quarterback. Tyrod Taylor, I'm not going to touch. Tua, definitely not going to touch. Andy Dalton, no thank you. So pretty much all the options at quarterback. Moving on to the running backs this week. Another shame on you guys, Tyler Algiers. If he's somehow, still out there, pick him up. He's got to be over 50% by now. Still not over 50%. My God. I mean, the guy's a handcuff to the number one running back in the game, guys. That alone should be, massive value. And I'm not, no, we don't wish injury on the show or nothing like that. But, if God forbid something happened to Bijan, this guy would be a league winner. So he's already, an RB4, you know, with the current role he's in right now. So uh, going against Miami this week, I think he's possibly a starter, considering they're going to pound the hell out of Miami and he'll get in, make some plays late. But if he's not out, if he's still on waivers, shame on you. There's no way he should be on waivers. In terms of reality um, candidates, first guy we'll talk about is Kyle Monangai, who really shouldn't be on waivers as well, but 14% roster, he's definitely out there as we're talking about. And this is the guy that can be the David Montgomery that Ben Johnson was looking for, the Jamal Williams, that smash mouth back. DeAndre Swift was a little banged up, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look that up to confirm that. But this is the guy that Ben Johnson kind of liked a little bit in the off. Yeah, I guess he's not banged up anymore. But this is the guy that was a favorite of Ben Johnson. He was getting the snaps over Roshan Johnson. And he's a bruiser. He's a between the tackles bruiser. The guy's tough as hell. Not so bad in pass pro from the little bit I saw. So at least he could step in if need be. But he's simply a bruiser. I mean, he's similar to Algier, where you're going to have positive game scripts for him to get involved. But uh, it's like early on this season, I was picking him up because I really didn't believe in Swift, but I think they found a role for Swift, and that's just running him on the outside every play, which kind of makes sense. But Ben Johnson wants to run the football. I mean, he wants to basically replicate the same sort of ground attack that he had in Detroit. So one, no matter who the guys were, I mean, he had a bruiser and a speedster. I mean, that's just how he rolled. And Manan is going to be his between the tackles bruiser, and Swift is going to be the speedster. So he's fantasy relevant. He's not going to get a ton of pass work, but 13 carries, 80 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, that's hella relevant. You'll take that all freaking day. Um, I could see going forward 8 carries a game, which that's a bench stash at the very worst. I don't know if you'll ever get to the flex, but DeAndre Swift's never had a clean history of staying healthy, so it's definitely a guy you want to take a look at. Uh, Next guy we'll talk about. We've talked about him couple times before on the Friday show. Um, I can see his role slowly evolving. That's Brashard Smith, the rookie. A lot of this was garbage time, 14 carries. That's not going to happen again. But the number on the right, the 5 for 42, that's something you want to keep an eye on. There's a lot of design screens, a lot of design swing passes to get him in space and let him go. He's not really a pure running back. He's kind of learning the position, getting better. I think he was a receiver too at SMU. So this guy's he is, I've said this multiple times. He's Jerick McKinnon. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. Jerick McKinnon was a good player. I think a lot of with McKinnon, he just could never stay healthy. But McKinnon was a good player for like a long time in the NFL. So uh, this guy, he's a 4-3 guy. He's one of those just scat backs. You get the ball in space and watch him go. And considering how this Chiefs offense is basically ready to explode, I mean they're going to be on the up and up for the rest of the season. They're probably going to be ahead in a good amount of games. Brashard Smith is going to be a guy. I mean, Kareem Hunt, to me, I just don't really see. I don't really see how his role increases down the line. I think Brashard Smith takes his snaps. I mean, I know they kind of need a goal line back, but I would assume Pacheco takes that role back eventually. And Brashard Smith is going to be a guy that kind of relieves his duty in passing down situations. So uh, I think he's just a playmaker, another playmaker that the Chiefs could get involved in. It's worth stashing pieces on the Chiefs, guys. We've talked about it many times before. Always stash pieces in good offenses, and Kansas City is exactly that. Uh, that's pretty much all I got in terms of running backs. If Tyjae Spears is out there, I know he didn't have a great week, but pick him up. What's his percentage of owned? He's still under 50%, which is interesting. But you just never know. I mean, new coach. I mean, they might get him the ball more down the line, and then he takes over for Tony Pollard. I mean, they were basically in an even split this past weekend, so I expect some checkdowns. New England was a tough opponent, but you get a little bit easier. I mean, I don't know. The Colts really defensively, it's a little easier. The Colts aren't an easy opponent by any means, but um, no, maybe down the stretch he just takes over. That's basically the hope, but not a priority yet by any means. And then actually one more guy we'll talk about. Forgot to mention guy we liked a lot. We did a video profiling him, Devin Neal. Kendrick Miller tears his ACL, so this guy steps on up to the backup role. I think the hopes of Kamara getting traded and all that's just not going to happen anymore. I mean, he kind of came out and said he didn't, you know, he said he didn't want to get traded, and he said he'd rather go drink pina coladas than play for another team, which I think was pretty powerful. I mean, I don't know why that would be the case. I mean, the Saints aren't going anywhere this year, next year, or the year after that, but that's loyalty, respect him for it. Maybe he just likes the New Orleans area. But Devin Neal, I think at the very least he's going to have a part-time role, and you just never know. It's worth stashing a player like that. Good player at Kansas. Didn't run a fast 40, so that's why he fell in the draft. But he was a productive player. 4,000 yards his time in Kansas. Four-star recruit, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Shown that he had some pass blocking ability, so he's a handcuff to Alvin Kamara. That alone is pretty appealing to me. I mean, Kendra Miller was pretty much at the point where he was worth rostering in 12 team leagues and deep. So, I mean, any 14 team leagues you had to roster him. So, throw a few bucks on Devin Neal. It's a bench stash, so nothing crazy, but I definitely think it's worth a budge. Okay. Now let's go to receivers. Uh, Receivers really ain't nothing, guys. A lot of guys we'll talk about are probably already rostered on your team. I mean, number one pickup is probably Tez Johnson now that Mike Evans is done for the year, but still only 24%. That's a little crazy. I mean, we talked about him last week's waivers, and then we talked about him on the Friday show as well. So I'm surprised that's not close to 50 by now. Back-to-back games showing he's productive. The guy's a good player, man. He fell to the seventh round because he was a smaller guy and he ran a bad 40. I mean, it was a stacked skill position group this year. It's why a lot of rookies are blossoming. It was just a stacked group. So uh, I think there's just one of those guys that slipped the cracks. I mean, Baker. I know he didn't play so well yesterday, but I think Baker is going to bounce back. He's still an MVP candidate in my mind. So um, I think it's worth to me. Tez Johnson's worth picking up. At this point, I would bid like a good 10, $15 on him if he's still on your waiver wires. I'm kind of surprised he's on 75% of waiver wires right now. To me, that doesn't make sense. But this will be the last time he's going to be on there because Mike Evans is hurt, and this guy he's probably going to be a starter for the rest of the year. I mean, outside of Godwin and Ibuka, I think Tez Johnson is the best receiver they got. I mean, Sterling Shepard to me is garbage. That other guy, I think his name is Johnson. I forget his first name. It's not better than Tez Johnson. So I don't know if he'll get 10 to 15 points a game, but I could definitely see 9 to 10 points per game, and it's worth the is a borderline flex in desperate situations. I mean, bye weeks, so I don't think there's any reason Tez Johnson should be on the waivers. Um, Couple guys to just check, make sure we've already talked about them plenty of times. See if they slip through the cracks. Darnell Mooney still only 36% owned. Get on him. I mean, I know Penix doesn't throw the ball deep and all, but he's a starting receiver. And then make sure you're on Luther Burden. Um, just because this guy to me, he's got a lot of, still got, Zacchaeus, and they got to get that crap cleared. He's got a lot of good matchups coming up. I think if he can get over that, he'll be okay. Um, it's just no reason to me why he's on waiver wires. I mean, he's got a lot of upside going forward. Uh, and that's pretty much it. I mean, Keishon Butte, I would also make sure you're on him as well. He got dropped in a lot of leagues, reasonably so, but 44%, he's probably on a lot of rosters out there. So make sure you guys pick him up. Not a lot of volume, but he's, with these numbers, it's definitely worth stashing. The rest of the guys, it's not worth mentioning. Leggett, I'm not trusting Leggett, guys. I know um, he had the big game and all, but there's no way I'm going to trust that. I think a lot of it was due to the fact that Sauce Gardner was on McMillan, and the Jets' 2 and 3 corners just aren't very good. You had Ryan Flournoy on the Cowboys, a seventh round pick. Had a 100-yard day. So I think Leggett. That's partly the reason why. If I'm being honest with you, I'm just I'm still I was a Leggett believer, huge coming out last year. This year, after some of the stuff I've seen, I'm not a Leggett believer at all. So um, I'm simply going to pass, even though he's coming off a 24-point game. I'm not going to buy it. Uh, and actually, we'll talk about one last guy, and that's Jalen Noel. Jalen Noel on the Houston Texans. We've talked about, Houston needs a slot receiver. I don't know when Christian Kirk is going to come back, but Jalen Noel showed that he could be that guy. I thought he made a lot of big time catches watching that game where, obviously I had Nico, he got hurt and that cost me, but um, I thought, Jalen Noel was pretty much the next in line. Jaden Higgins, his Ohio State teammate, we haven't seen or heard him. We haven't heard anything from that guy. Um, So yeah, we really don't know with Kirk right now. I don't know how serious that is, but Jalen Noel is a guy that just keep an eye on. Dollar claim at the most. But Collins has a concussion this week, so he's bye week filling if need be. And that's it. So let's go to tight ends. We already talked about Aronde Gadsden. Um, Cade Otton's another guy. He shouldn't be out there, but he's pretty much a shame on you guy, if we're being honest. I mean, 10 points each of the last 3 games. It's only going to go up now that Mike Evans is gone for the year. We've already talked about some big time production he had when those guys are gone. Um, he's worth having and stashing for the rest of the season. So make sure you guys are on him. Uh, Juwan Johnson, I don't know if I'm going to run to the waivers to go pick him back up. I mean, his snaps are dropping. He did have 7 targets, which was encouraging, but a lot of it was, those garbage time targets. But to me, he's more of a backup tight end. I'm not really rushing to get him. He's, desperate streaming option at best, if I had to put it like that. Um, Theo Johnson, his brother. I'm just kidding, but Theo Johnson, I think, is definitely worth the pickup. We've talked about him many times before. He's going to be on the field a lot for the rest of the year because the Giants have no other receivers. Slayton's going to come back, so that might relieve him a little bit. But um, I saw that touchdown that he ran in. I mean, this guy's got a good chemistry going with Jackson Dart. So to me, he's worth a grab. Absolutely going to bid like $5, $10 on Theo Johnson if I'm tight end desperate out there. So 13% roster, that should come up a lot. Um, and then Dalton Schultz is another guy to keep an eye on. I mean, he had a big game last week. He's kind of showing that he could be somewhat of a safety blanket for CJ Stroud. Nothing explosive with Dalton Schultz. It's a very boring vanilla game, but the guy is reliable. I'll give him that. So all those guys are streamers aside from Gadsden, if I'm being honest with you. Nothing to really get excited about. But that's pretty much it, guys. That's all I got for this week. A little more quiet than I expected, but uh, there's definitely some guys out there that are worth picking up. Not guys that I'm necessarily running to the waiver wire though to pick up. I'll say that. But if you like the video, join the Discord below. Oop, camera's a little turned. Join the Discord below. Get in the community. Any start sit questions, trade questions, you got it. I'll answer it. And then until then, I'll see you guys on the Friday show.